New Phyrexia carved its way through the multiverse with its March of the Machine, and cemented itself as one of the most devastating events in Magic the Gathering history. From worlds shattered, realities broken, and planeswalkers desparked, very little good can be said to have come from March of the Machine. Though Elesh Norn was ultimately defeated, it feels as if the multiverse at large didn't necessarily win either. But there is one, I believe, who came out on top of March of the Machine. Someone you at first would never believe. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Aether Hub. I'm Simon, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. Today I wanted to bring you the Vorthos community some theory crafting. I love making outlandish predictions and seeing if they hold water in the future. And so today I have something really far out there. I want to break down the individual I believe benefited the most from Elesh Norn's invasion of the multiverse. The single being who actually won March of the Machine. With Elesh Norn defeated and a lot of planeswalkers losing their sparks, the fabric of the multiverse shattered, and entire worlds destroyed, it's going to be hard to find anyone truly jubilant by this conflict's aftermath. But I assure you there's at least one. Before we begin, don't forget to leave this video a like, become a subscriber, and share it with your friends. Now let's get back into the lore. Let's not beat around the bush. You probably saw on the thumbnail for this video a certain written-off villain whose demise was noted as one of the worst chapters in MTG storytelling ever. So with me feeling that way, it may come as a surprise to find out that I believe NICOL Bolas was the true winner of March of the Machine. And no, it's not simply because I think this character needs some ill-fated redemption arc, or because we as fans of the story need a redemption of our own, although I wouldn't say no to that given the reception War of the Spark got. No, I actually have facts to go along with my headcanon, points that lead to predictions for Bolas' return to the Magic the Gathering story. But how is all that possible simply from March of the Machine, a story Bolas wasn't even mentioned in? Well, let me explain. To learn why I think NICOL Bolas was the ultimate victor of New Phyrexia's failed invasion of the multiverse, it's best if we return to where the dragon's story ended with his own failed attempt at conquest. If you're newer to the Vorthos community, you may have missed the last big story event of MTG prior to March of the Machine, known as the Bolas arc, which culminated in the War of the Spark. Now, the quality of that story can be discussed and debated ad nauseum, but in this video, we want to focus just on the narrative points from War, which, if you removed from the actual material, are pretty decent. Bolas was much like Elesh Norn in that he wished to bend the multiverse to his will. He wanted to rule over all with godlike powers only he felt worthy to wield. Now, it's true Elesh Norn wanted tyrannical rule for, I suppose, a less selfish reason, i.e. wanting individuality to become a greater collective, all seemingly happy under one ideology. Still, the end result would have been the same, as Elesh Norn's breakdown at the end of March of the Machine revealed that she too is just coveting power. Bolas being an ancient elder dragon, some of the first born throughout the multiverse, along with his brother Ugin, gained a planeswalker spark prior to the Mending. During this era of MTG storytelling, planeswalkers were afforded untold powers. They cast spells of unrivaled devastation, able to craft entire worlds and create life itself. Planeswalkers were, for all intents and purposes, gods. This is where NICOL Bolas originally gets his god complex, though he had always been sort of a egomaniacal supremacist. These powers really pushed him towards becoming a true tyrant, which he eventually would become on planes like Dominaria and Amonkhet, earning the monikums God Emperor and God Pharaoh respectively. Though Bolas would lose his godlike powers with the Great Mending, which pruned the powers of planeswalkers significantly, this didn't stop the ambitious dragon. Now his path was made even more clear. By regaining his godly pre-mending abilities, he would become the most powerful being in the multiverse. With none left able to stand before him, Bolas would truly rule over all lesser than he. His various schemes and machinations would make up the bulk of this arc. It was during this part of his plan that he would first learn and begin monitoring the rise of New Phyrexia. From what we know, Bolas simply wanted to keep tabs on the Phyrexians spread across Mirrodin and ensure they didn't acquire means to escape that plane. We believe he just didn't want a future challenger to his eternal rule. He saw the Phyrexians as agents of chaos, disrupting his imposed order. In fact, it was stated that one of his first actions after becoming the God Pharaoh, in gaining his godlike powers again, was to destroy New Phyrexia before they could somehow branch throughout the multiverse. So if it hadn't been for Bolas's downfall, we would never have seen a March of the Machine. But then Bolas never had that opportunity, for his plans were stopped on the plane of Ravnica during the War of the Spark. To regain his powers, Bolas needed to forcibly summon in and trap hundreds of planeswalkers. He would then siphon their sparks into himself until the pre-mending abilities that he once had returned. This was done through an ancient magic, a spell known as the Elder Spell. While the Elder Spell proved useful in draining the sparks from hundreds of planeswalkers, it too would prove to be Bolas's own undoing. With his own minions in the God Eternals betraying Bolas by command of Liliana Vess and her powerful necromancy, Bolas too was desparked. He no longer was a planeswalker, much less a god. In the final moments of the story, his ill-fated brother Ugin appeared before a defeated Bolas. Fearing his ever-scheming hatchmate had planned a contingency for his possible death, something he had done before, Ugin went a different direction. He and Jace weaved a mental tapestry over the heroic planeswalkers, whom, in their victory, thought they saw the would-be tyrant fade into dust. They witnessed Bolas's death. In reality though, Ugin whisked NICOL Bolas through the Blind Eternities and placed him in a pocket dimension known as the Meditation Realm, a personal plane built by Bolas himself where he often goes to plot or even recover from death. Without a planeswalker spark, traveling with Bolas through the Blind Eternities damaged Bolas severely. It took months for him to even begin to recover, and he lacked both physical strength and any true magical prowess. Ugin then spread his essence over the entirety of the Meditation Realm, acting as its barrier and Bolas's warden, erasing any name Bolas had once used in the multiverse so that he couldn't be summoned ever again. By not killing Bolas, Ugin ensured the best possible chance of Bolas's long-term imprisonment, eventually reaching the end of Bolas's mortal life. As Bolas, through his egomania, would never assume the heroes he encountered would actually let him live, he hadn't really planned for his capture, but only his death. So in this, Ugin had outsmarted Bolas. But in fantasy stories, as easily as one can come back from death, it's just as easy to have someone like Bolas freed from a planar prison. Which is one reason I believe the March of the Machine was a huge win for Bolas. With Elesh Norn ushering in the Great Pruning, countless planeswalkers across the multiverse have lost their sparks. Just in the story we have right now, we currently have 15 planeswalkers who were desparked. Of course, Bolas beat them to the punch, a trendsetter as always. These 15 aren't the only planeswalkers we'll see desparked, more are gonna show up in the story. And there's no reason why Ugin couldn't be among them. With Ugin's spark gone, his power will diminish substantially. His ability to guard over the Meditation Realm won't be nearly as all-encompassing. His essence cannot be stretched through encoding it from the Blind Eternity. Without Ugin as a planeswalker guarding Bolas, there will obviously be a seam the villain could exploit given enough time. Without a spark, even if Ugin fails as a warden, Bolas would still essentially be imprisoned, unable to escape the Meditation Realm. But, lucky for him, March of the Machine gave him another win. Since the fabric of the multiverse has been torn by the branches of the invasion tree, wormholes through the Blind Eternities known as Omen Paths began showing up. These are bridges through the harshness of the multiverse that allow even non-planeswalkers to travel to other planes. These have already been used by some unnamed monsters, as well as desparked planeswalkers like Nissa Ravane. These will be used in future stories to help get important characters to key destinations, or possibly show a brand new world to old characters and seeing how they interact with them. And Omen Paths could pave the way for Bolas's own freedom. Through all of Ugin's hard work and planning, he couldn't plan for the fabric of reality to unravel. Bolas taking an Omen Path and escaping his brother would be as easy as if he just planeswalked away. This theory could also follow if Elesh Norn managed to attack the Meditation Realm directly. While Ugin probably would have defended his brother from the Phyrexians, not out of love mind you, but out of fear of what they could empower Bolas to become, Bolas could have slinked away and retreated through the created invasion portals. Having prior knowledge of the Phyrexians, he would know what to avoid. his body even maybe being immune to the effects of glistening oil, as he once provided Tezzeret with a vaccine to prevent this fate. Knowing the dangers of New Phyrexia, Bolas could have hopped through the portals, much like the angels of New Capenna, until he found himself safely on a new world, upon which he could start rebuilding his empire and gaining his strength. I think outside of narrative reasons for why Bolas can return to the story with the outset of March of the Machine, there's another reason why this story was a win for the Elder Dragon, and it plays directly to his ego and pettiness. Going from a powerful god dragon to simply a conniving planeswalker to briefly becoming a god once again, only to be reduced to something worse, a living shadow, a fate worse than death, I'm sure it sits heavy on Bolas's mind. His ego just can't handle it. So upon hearing about the March of the Machine and the resulting great pruning, and the hundreds of planeswalkers too losing their sparks, some of which who were instrumental in his own downfall, well, I'm sure it brought at least a small smirk to this devilish dragon's face. Out of pure pettiness, I think NICOL Bolas sees March of the Machine as a complete win, knowing that this disastrous fate, all these lives lost, the devastation of countless worlds, it all would have been avoided should he have only been allowed to ascend and rule. Ugin now must live with that knowledge, that by directly influencing the War of the Spark, he and the other heroes brought about the March of the Machine and its consequences. Now, hundreds of those fools share in his fate. Plain-bound. The sparks that made them unique, made them more than their kin snuffed out. The multiverse now feels his pain. A pain he welcomes upon all those who stood defiant. As the rest of the multiverse is mourning lost planes, lost friends, and changes to their very understanding of reality, Bolas can sit back and use these events to his advantage. He may be the sole being in the multiverse that benefited from the Phyrexian invasion. As sparks were torn from heroes, Bolas laughs, as the Elder Dragon again plots for his return. The true winner of March of the Machine. Now, the point of this video wasn't just me spouting my headcanon about how Bolas must have been grinning during March of the Machine. No, there's a broader point. The fact is, Bolas isn't a dead character or plot point despite his current sorry fate. There's always a chance for his return, and I actually think March of the Machine opened up several possible narrative roadways in which it could be done. This is really important to take note of, as Wizards' head honcho in terms of development, Mark Rosewater, has stated publicly that he doesn't think we've seen the last of NICOL Bolas. Now at surface level, that's really a non-answer. Leaving open ends to characters is what we expect, but it means that there's truly a possibility, and so long as that door is left ajar, we can sift through information and find ways it could be used in the future. I really do think that March of the Machine has opened cracks into the prison built for Bolas. Both the actual prison watched over by Ugin, as well as the narrative prison meant to put a final stamp on his character. While he gained very little from March of the Machine, Bolas, Ugin, and the Meditation Realm never once being mentioned during this arc, it's clear that Bolas's position in the story only stood to grow from its outcome. Now, I want to throw it back to you guys in the comments. What are some of your predictions for Bolas's character and the future of Magic? What do you think happened to the Meditation Realm or Ugin during the March of the Machine and its aftermath? Who else won big from Elesh Norn's invasion? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave it a like, become a subscriber, and share it with friends. It all goes a long way in helping the channel grow. And until next time, guys, see ya!